why the leaders are approving prototype which were not ready for the production?
It's very simple answer, because they are not seeing what is required for production. They are seeing what is presented to them. That is why. So it's not a problem with prototype. It's not a problem with the AI. It is a problem with the process, how you instruct the AI. See, from my perspective, if you ask, there are like 3 fundamental core pillars that I would say.
AI generated code, trust or verify?
I would say both.
Most important, refactor or rebuild, your bias?
Very difficult question, I would say. The ones with the cleanest and right architectures are going to win in next 5 years, not the ones with greatest models.
Welcome to AI ThoughtMakers podcast, where we explore how artificial intelligence transform the future of tech. And today we'll discuss about Rebuild Refactor, a spec-driven decision framework. And to discuss in detail, we have Suresh Konakanchi, and he is a solution architect at Geeky Ants. Suresh, welcome once again.
Yeah, thanks, Prem.
AI helped us to build a working product in days, but gradually we find that we threw it all away. So I just want to check from you, Suresh, that why AI prototype products, when we build, it is very fine at the beginning, but after a couple of days, it becomes, unused. May I have your particular light in that?
Sure, why not? See, now AI is grown to a level that, it is generating you applications end to end. That is good thing. But however, when it comes to, production grade, it's still not that great. So with prototype level, it is really doing amazing work. So it generates you end-to-end application, which is like very smooth, very clean, looks production grade, gives you a feel of production grade, but not exactly suitable to the production. Why so? There are n number of factors that are involved in this, decision. The production requires security, scaling, X, Y, Z. There are like checklist of items that are there for production, which AI is still not thinking in that direction, right? And each application will have its own checklist.
Yeah.
Each product will have its own checklist. There's only like 5 or 6 which is common across products. So which is still not, AI is still not that great. That is what my take. Which is why, the prototypes are really working out at the beginning, but later stages when it moved to the production grade, they are failing.
Yeah, that's what we have realized, that we move very fast with AI, but we become slow after a couple of days, couple of months, and because of that, the effectiveness for the product totally gone. And because of that, I think the discussion we should be having you further, which will really help us to have particular perspective that how we can able to improve that. So just to have a light on that, would you like to give any examples from business perspective?
Sure. I think instead of business perspective, I would say I'll take real world example itself.
Yeah.
Like say we were using WhatsApp, Telegram, and all these chatting applications, right? Now, if you ask the AI to generate the exact same application, it generates like this. Okay, it generates very clear and exact match.
Yes.
But when it comes to production, say if I am building a WhatsApp application, a clone of it, so the AI is going to generate in like 3-4 days. But now if I have to take that to the production, will it work the scale of WhatsApp? Not really.
True.
Because AI did not, follow the checklist that is required for this conversational application.
Yeah.
It requires security. Otherwise, your entire chat is leaked, correct? It requires scaling. Otherwise, it cannot handle, hundreds of users, thousands of users, right? So it requires smooth execution. So streaming of the data offline first. There are n number of checklists which it did not follow because the user is not conveying it. User is just asking, okay, I need a WhatsApp kind of application. I need chat. It should import contacts, X, Y, Z. That's all the user is speaking about.
Yes.
But user is not speaking about the entire checklist of the production. That is the problem. That is why the prototype applications are failing in production.
Very well said. I think this can definitely bring a clarity for all the audience. But also, I'm curious to understand why the leaders are approving prototype which were not ready for the production.
It's very simple answer, because they are not seeing what is required for production. They are seeing what is presented to them. Because what is generated by AI is very clean for presentation. It's very smooth in demos, because you'd be only demoing with like one user or 10 users. You won't be demoing with 10,000 users, right?
Yes.
So that's not going to happen in leadership demos. So when I build an application using AI, the prototype, I'm going to demo what I've built, not with 10,000 users or 100k users for sure, right? So that is why. So it is creating false completeness is what I would say. So it's creating false completeness in directorial demos or CXO level people. So and they are not verifying or validating whether there is really a checklist, whether there is is it really scalable or not, or they're only thinking about is it ready or not. They're not thinking about is it scalable, secure or not. That they are not thinking, which is why it is failing, and they are approving it because they are seeing it clean. Yeah.
So is this prototype itself is a problem, or the problem is in the process?
I would say it's not the problem with prototype. I don't even say it is a problem with AI.
Okay.
Because AI is just simply acting on human commands.
Yeah.
So if you give an instruction with I need this, it generates the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't understand, okay, you also need these in order to go into production, you need these. It doesn't understand, because you will have to instruct, you are the human, you are the brain, right? So that is why. So it's not a problem with prototype, it's not a problem with the AI, it is a problem with the process, how you instruct the AI on, what is your prompt, what is the way or approach that you follow to create this product. That is a problem.
Got it. I think it adds a lot of depth in the conversation. Moving on to how should teams rethink specs in AI first development?
I would say they should follow the spec-driven development. So I'll give quick example of what is the spec-driven development.
Yeah.
So even before implementing anything, everyone should have a clear checklist. I was speaking about the same thing from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So what is meant by the checklist? Okay, go ahead, create your business requirement first, because that is your end goal. You'll have to achieve, okay, I'm serving these kind of audience. This is my product. This is my requirement of the product. Now, on top of that, create the technical requirement document.
Okay.
So what is meant by technical requirement? So this includes business plus the technicalities. When I say technicalities, what is your positive flow? What are your negative flows? On how many ways the users can come and break your application. You have to think that prior, and you need to list all those edge cases into your technical requirement document. And you need to list from a security, scaling, right? And from whatnot. So from observability, tracings, you need to have that checklist as well included into your technical requirement document.
Got it.
Once these specs are created in neat way, then go ahead, ask your AI tools or agents, create your workflow, get it completed. This would be production grade. So this is going to be scalable, secure enough. This is going to work out in production when compared with blind prototypes. So that is what my take on that.
Moving a bit deeper, if I ask that, what are the must-have elements for the strong production spec?
See, are you building a blind system, or are you building a system which has a complete visibility to you? So how do you get visibility? You need to have a top angle eye from your product. If you're not seeing what are the user requests, what say you as an end user, if you are using a product, you're using my product, right? Then I should know what features you have scrolled through.
Yeah.
What are your requests? Like, did you request it for XYZ resource? Did you request it or used a feature of so and so? If I don't have that visibility from a top angle, then it is a blind prototype. So my take is very clear. You need to have a clear visibility and bird eye of your product. Only then it would be good enough for the production.
It's a brilliant explanation. This will definitely give the real depth to the conversation. So moving on, how do you decide between the refactoring and rebuilding?
I don't need to decide because your specs are going to decide it. So your spec says it very clear. So once you have, how many customers are you serving? How many concurrent requests that you are going to serve? What is your scale factor? What is your observability? What are your metrics? Like say, how fast my APIs are responding, how fast my product is behaving, how smooth is it? All of this will come from the specs. Now the specs are going to tell you whether you should just do a simple refactoring or you should rebuild it completely from the scratch again. So it is completely driven by the specs. So that is also going to act as a source of your requirements, right? So that's the source of truth for your original requirement. Now, every time you go back and see the problem from the bird eye view, you're going to come back, iterate your specs, and decide on refactoring versus rebuild. So your specs are going to tell that, and it's not any human-driven decision onto that.
Yes, so I just come to know that about the particular information, that it's not about the emotional. The system will decide how it will support the future.
That's correct.
Right? What simple framework should leaders use before moving to production?
See, from my perspective, if you ask, there are like 3 fundamental core pillars that I would say. One is, what is your production checklist?
Yeah.
Right? Whether your team is really capable to understand the difference between prototype and production. Whether you and your team are, having the clear vision of what is required to you, even from a technical point of view, not just from the business requirement point of view. As in the observability, scalability, tracings, metrics, all of that, whatever that I've covered so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to give some examples for that?
See, I can probably take one of my recent experiences so that a lot of people might correlate to that as well. So customer has come to us asking for, okay, we need a product, but we really do not have a lot of time. This is my business requirement, right? Okay, they have told, no, I'm a doctor, I'm serving my patients, this is my requirement. But I really need this product in 1 month. Can you get that? Now, he is asking for MVP, but we have delivered him production grade application. How did we deal with that? It's very simple. We asked the doctor, the customer, sit with us for 1 week. We want every day 2 hours from you for 1 week. No deviation on, no compromise onto this. What we did, we sat together, we created, before the client comes, before the customer comes to the call, we have created the specs based on our understanding, right? We have included technicalities and the initial business requirement that they have given.
Yes.
But we need to make sure that we are covering all the business requirements. Thus, their technical requirements get updated because technical requirements already impacted direct proportionate to the business requirements.
Yeah.
Right? So the TL and the customer sat together along with a business product owner, and they have created very good specs with almost all edge cases. Even when I saw that data, right, the points, the specs that they have created, it was for each feature, even for very simple login and sign up feature, they have created 37 edge cases, which I have not seen. If I am doing it in a traditional way, I have not seen it.
That's massive.
Yeah, so that big. Each spec is of like around 7 to 8 pages.
Oh.
Very big, very detailed, very extensive. And they have used, the technical teams now went to the execution mode. They've used it. They have splitted it down into like say chunks of it. One feature they've again divided into 4 to 5 separate specs of it, and then executed them in sub-agents in parallel. So that's how we have achieved it. And that is of production grade again. So we are not doing any, just simple AI prompting or stuff like that. Creating the real spec and then using the spec as a, data points to the AI to generate it.
Yeah.
That's how we have achieved.
I love that answer, and that's the real world examples for understanding.
Yeah.
But also I would want to know that where do most of the team fails in this framework?
So, yeah, again, from a personal observation,
Yeah.
this was not the very recent one that I was speaking. So it was before that.
Yeah.
So we've started with the spec-driven development long back, months back. But what we have observed is like people create really good specs. But, they should understand the limitations of the AI as well. right? Every AI model and AI tools have limitations on the context,
Yeah.
limitations on the memory management. So people don't understand that and then just simply use that as a clipboard. They just copy paste the entire spec and they think everything will be generated on the fly. That's not how things work. That is where even a lot of team players will fail. They follow spec-driven, they get the checklist.
Yeah.
The product owners and CXO team members are involved in that spec-driven spec creations. But after that, the teams doesn't understand how effectively to use that,
Yes.
and they fail.
Very true. Very
That's
true.
where most teams, I have noticed again from my personal observation, even from the public when I attend a lot of talks and listen to it.
Yeah.
That's a common problem that a lot of people are facing.
Very well said. Now we are moving to the most interesting phase of the podcast, that is rapid fire round. Yeah. So let's start for the first one. One thing leaders should never delegate.
I would say that spec-driven development, you should never delegate it. Never ever delegate it. So you should be part of what your production app should look like.
AI generated code, trust or verify?
I would say both, because trust comes only when you have that bird eye view, when you are able to verify it.
Specs, discipline or survival skill?
It is a survival skill.
Yes.
Because if your specs are not good, you're going to come back and rebuild it, not refactor. So that's a survival skill.
Speed as clarity?
We should manage both. If you don't have the clarity, even whether you go fast or slow, it doesn't make sense. But if you try to focus on 100% clarity, you're never going to make it fast.
Okay. Most important, refactor or rebuild, your bias?
Very difficult question, I would say. It all depends on how my product is shaping up. Say if my customers demand in a complete different direction altogether, then I'll have to rebuild it. Otherwise, it's a simple refactor.
That's really a good one. Thank you so much, Suresh. What will define successful AI first teams in the future?
See, it's not the ones with the greatest model. It's the ones with the cleanest way, and it's the ones with right architecture. That is my take. So if you don't have a right architecture and cleanest way to do things, you're going to rebuild it, not refactor it, which is going to cost you a lot, which is not going to be a good product over years. Because every time model recreates, model updates, right? GPT-4o model, it got updated silently and lot of production apps has broken. This was even clearly told even in Reddit pages in 2025. Because you're relying on prompts, you're not relying on a right approach, cleanest way. So the ones with the cleanest and right architectures are going to win in next 5 years, not the ones with greatest models.
So we are almost in the end of the session here. The people to have a gist of this, I can say, sometimes you refine the path, sometimes you redraw the map, but the best team always know before they begin where they are going.
That's
right?
correct.
And at the end, I can say it was really a excellent conversation with you, Suresh. Thank you so much for that. We have learned so many things. And for all the audience who has seen the entire podcast, thank you so much. If you found this interesting, like, subscribe, and share to your friends. Thank you so much once again.